Crazy Camp life, votes, and tribals. The life of a survivor is more than you see on TV. So if you need the scoop on island survival, crack a coconut, put on some rice, and let's spill the immunity. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It is episode 11 recap of Survivor 45. And boy, did we have a fun episode last night. Lots to talk about. Brandon is back in the house with us. Hey,
I'm here. We're the new core four guys since the last one.
We are the core
four.
I love it. All right, let's dive in. What do we all think about last night? It was quite an episode.
It really got me emotionally. I was really on the edge of my seat at Tribal, and I was like, oh, it's just like, okay, exactly what we all expected. I mean, not the Julie vote and how that all played out, but Emily went home and it's like, okay, I guess it's not really. But very interesting episode. I was on the edge of my seat for a lot of it. I thought the core four, well, I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts? Were you on the edge of your seat? Did you feel the suspense, or did you?
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Absolutely. I was nervous about it. I found myself super nervous for Austin in that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been kind of like, does he really have what it takes to win? Am I even backing him fully? I don't know. But the minute he was in danger, I was like, wait, no, don't do that. I was like, oh my gosh, if he goes, I'm going to be actually really upset. So,
Same.
I mean, of course, I'm super sad to see Emily go as well. I think the biggest surprise was just everyone throwing the votes on Julie, not assuming that, is there any possibility where she could have had any other, twits? Like, I don't know what that was about. That was not smart, but yes, I was totally stressed.
Do you think that the real Ozzy right now is kind of eating his popcorn saying, hey, good, not a smart Ozzy yet, because he's letting his little heart get involved just like Ozzy did?
He is. I'm like, oh my gosh. And why is every good tribal council, every good blindside ruined by someone in their big mouth? Stop it. I'm like, as soon as he took her to the beach, I was like, no. And then she walks off with Julie and I'm like, no, like, stop. I want a good blindside. This loose lips for real.
I think we're going to see a lot from that. A lot of repercussions coming from that. Go ahead, Brandon, because it's going to be an interesting.
Huge
next week will be interesting from that.
I was going to say, if we want to segue to the beginning of the episode where they foreshadowed the Emily vote, whenever Julie called out, hey, you're a sneaky one. You are smart. And I thought I put in my name, don't flaunt your persuasive power too early. Because that's as soon as Emily starts saying, I did all this and had this conversation with Bruce, done. You're done.
I don't know why she did that. That's not smart at all. That's what you save that for the jury. You don't tell your fellow competitors, hey, I masterminded this whole thing. It's like, okay, well, now I'm going to vote for you, and I feel like she was in a decent position. You're right.
And the edit even said that Julie was all on it saying, you're smart. You are that. And that's exactly when Julie was like, you know what? That she is the best player right now.
Mm-hmm.
And whether Julie knew it before that conversation with Bruce or not, I don't know. But that was definitely a piece where Julie was like, all right, it's time. It's definitely time to pull that trigger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I think that I think Emily put herself in a bad spot with that because she was really proud of herself. And I think she let it that's kind of why it all just kind of came tumbling out of her because, we get it led into this. When I started and all the votes were going against me and I learned I had to make these changes and I had all these things. So she's really proud of how far she came, how much she's accomplished and changed about herself. And been aware of a lot of things on how her interactions affect others. But it was in that excitement that she just was so proud to share, look what I did this and I created all of this stuff. And they're like, awesome, great. How big red do you want on that target? Right?
Yeah. No, I think she's going to kick her. I think she's going to kick herself about the journey because she, you kept your vote only to vote with everybody else. And you had this opportunity to even throw a vote one other way, force a tie, a revote, anything. So it's like, what was the point of any of it? Oh my goodness.
In a season where it's been a huge majority voting the same person for at least 6 or 7 tribal councils, how would you think that, hey, it might be a close one tonight? That was not in anybody's head.
No.
Emily, you puzzle queen, you. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I spent 5 minutes going through figuring out how to do that puzzle, and I now know how to do it. So I was really proud
Bree's
of
ready.
myself. I'm ready for that puzzle, which I'll never see. But like, it was like, it's a complicated puzzle because it really bothered me because
I would've
we've
lost the
seen
vote.
it twice now. And they even said it in the challenge to Emily, like, no one else has been able to do this. Can you do this? And I'm like, damn it, I need to learn how to do this. So I like stopped everything and I went and found a video on how I knew Carson had done. Watch one of his lives. Like they do a live right after the show on Instagram. It's Jam and Carolyn and Carson. And so Carson actually did the puzzle. And so I was like, oh, I don't remember how he did it. And I can't find that video. So I found it and I figured out how to do it. And it literally should just take you seconds. Once you like know how it's done, it's like super simple, but you have to really think like think it through. So I can see why she didn't do it, but oh man, I want to see. I love that they're giving them that opportunity and saying, do you want to do this before, like it's not like you're going to get a puzzle or you have to like look at it and say, do I want to do this and can I do this? I think she should have risked it. Like you said, her vote didn't matter.
Nope.
And if she wasn't going to use it in a different way. My question is, how many people knew that Julie had an idol?
I think it was just the core four.
Yes.
I mean, it didn't seem like anybody else was aware because then they might have been really nervous about actually doing that plan because, I mean, they would have leaked it to Julie and then maybe choosing a different target. It still is surprising to me that everybody thinks Julie is such a threat. I mean, because she's Mama J and she's endeared herself to everybody.
Yeah.
Talk about the Emily thing. It's kind of a lose. Like I know Emily knew she couldn't do it because she was having flashbacks to the number, the simple math problem. She's like, this one looks a lot more complicated. I kind of have experience in this realm, so I'm not going to do this again. But either way, when you do that excursion, people are going to assume you have an advantage.
Yeah.
Well, you're damned do you do if you damned do you. Oh, I don't have an idol. I chose not to play. Well, they're like, you probably do, and you probably do have an idol, right?
100%.
So she should have just done it, even if she lost her vote. Obviously, it didn't count. But if you're going to make that journey, I mean, you make it to risk it. You're going to risk it. Like, what do you think you're going to go there and not have to risk it?
Right.
Well, and she's like, no, I want to go. Well, you understand what do you think is going to be there? A sandwich like for Austin.
So he's still thinking about it. Rumor has it.
He got a sandwich then.
He did get a sandwich. He got a burger too. That's funny. Yeah. Well, I think what frustrated me is it was a very bold move of Drew to suggest, pulling in everyone else to get out Julie. And once it was made kind of obvious that Austin had told Dee, and you have to assume then Dee told Julie, what were we all thinking writing her name down? That is so dumb. It's a big shot to take someone in your own alliance a little earlier obviously than you promised. So like, to me, it's like when you take that shot, you cannot miss. And now like you see the preview for next week where it's just straight up chaos. It's like, I don't know what anyone was thinking. They wrote her name down, even though they knew she had the idol, even though they knew she knew. And then she was targeting Austin. Like none of it even makes any sense. So it's very frustrating because it could have been a great move.
It has reset the whole entire game.
Yeah.
It has
everybody for themselves now.
Entire game. And I don't know if there's been a Survivor where all 6 players have a potential to win. And
I agree.
It's been a while. I mean, yes, Katura and give me the other lawyer, the male lawyer's name.
Jake.
Thank you guys. They're still on the bottom-ish, but at the same time, this completely gives them, some people to support them. They're going to be needed this next vote because the core 4 is actually, done. Oh, it's so good.
And Drew was the only one really willing to take the shot because Austin couldn't do it without telling Dee, and then Dee had to tell Julie. So Drew of the 4 was the only one really willing to do it. And Katura and Jake now, like, I agree. They could make it to the end on the premise that they dismantled the core 4 that nobody else could do. And yeah, they were kind of floaters for a while and sitting at the bottom, but they played, quieter games, backseat games, as opposed to someone like Bruce, who just always has to be in the driver's seat. It was a crazy episode. Yeah, speaking
of Bruce, I wanted to point one thing out before we get too far past it. When we talk about Emily and this big transformation and how she's like, really tried to make changes. And I kept saying, I don't know about her. Here's the thing that she said right in the beginning of the episode that kind of brought me right back to where she started. And she said she told Bruce she's playing you like Kelly did about Julie.
And everybody was like, "Oh, like you said that, like you're
Right.
brutal."
But that's the Emily that we know and love, right? We like that's always been a part of her. She started out going after Bruce in the beginning, and then she, wraps things up at the end by really throwing a pretty that was pretty ruthless to say that to him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's so hurtful, like on a deeper level than, yeah, don't trust Julie, she's coming for you. But like, oh, she's playing you like Kelly did. Like, you know what I mean? There's like ways to say that, and that was definitely like a stab and then a twist, in my opinion.
And she didn't even realize that. She was like, what? That was, that was cutthroat. That was like, I'm a villain for that. Really? It's like, yeah, I like Emily as the villain. I mean, it's kind of this juxtaposition. She's this small kind of, now kind of quiet person, after she kind of adjusted, but I'd like to see her embrace that villain side a little bit more and play a little bit more devious. She said, I've become much softer in this game. I'm listening to people and their stories, what's important in their life. And I think that's a really important thing on how to win friends and influence people. Like, what's important in other people's lives and understanding that, to talk to them about that. And that's how you connect with people. But this is this new millennial game where the villain, you can't be a villain. It's not cool. You're killing the vibe because you're a villain. But I like I said, I just love to see Emily embrace that a little bit more and be proud of it.
That's her taking it.
Because that's Survivor. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's her taking it, right? So she's like, I need to know these people better and be more aware of their feelings and emotions and like learn all that stuff. And then what she did with that information is she said, and now I'm going to use that information to stick it to you and
That's
really screw with you. And that is what a villain does. And so, yes, Alex, 100% villain move. That is what villains do. And I think that was a perfect way of showing that she still had that villainous side in her. And really, like, it was downright dirty. Like, she played him dirty at the end. So I don't know.
What do you think, after this all ends and, she was kind of browbeaten by her tribe into a place of, submission and lack of self-confidence and questioning herself and her motives. You think when, in the reunion, she's going to embrace that and say, you know what? I am a villain, and I want to come back and I want to play, the Emily that I arrived as with the new understanding, but not, doubting myself so much or thinking that I'm a bad person for playing that way.
If she's smart, she doesn't say that.
I think
if she wants to come back, she doesn't say it. If she wants to come back and be the villain, you're not going to announce it to the world that you want to come back and be the villain. You got to keep your mouth shut. Come in there and going, oh, but she was so nice and so kind and they voted her out and she was doing a great job and she is really smart. And then let the villain just go.
Let it out.
Let it out the next time. And then
I'm a big sweetheart now.
Yeah. Can we get a new season of Heroes versus Villains? Because it is like my favorite from the past, and also I think that I saw an article this morning that said that Emily's like basically a shoo-in to come back as a returning player. So I could totally see it. But yeah, I would love to see her come in with that. Oh, I've changed, I learned so much. And then just go right back to day one, Emily, Oh, that would be really funny. I could totally see her on another season.
Caleb on Heroes, Emily on Villains.
Oh my God. Stop. Wait, that's all I want for Christmas. That would be so incredible. Like those two on opposite tribes against each other. Yes, Alex, go talk to CBS right now. Who's got Jeff's phone number?
Yeah, I'll text Jeff.
Text him. Tell him.
Go ahead, Brandon.
Oh, though we have been talking about this Heroes versus Villains things, we also have been talking about how soft these seasons have been comparatively. So I wonder if they call it Heroes versus people who are just misunderstood. And give her that token.
Facts. God forbid we say, don't say villain.
Right, don't say that.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Is that the PC way?
Well, should we talk about... the episode started with, the core four. They said, we've completely dismantled everybody. And then it got into Dee and Austin and the showmance. And we called it. We said, oh, there's definitely a connection here. And, they said, oh, back when Rob and Amber were on the show. And, so that was really interesting. I mean, we kind of called it. But this really, this changes the game. I mean, their close relationship was the reason that Austin had to tell Dee. It wasn't from strategy. It was because he's like, I like this girl. I love her. I want her to be my wife. They're saying wifey, and stuff like this. So that was a big, I don't know, what do you guys think about that? And like, I don't know. It's
Give
just a
me a
very.
Boston Rob
It's super
flashback
cute.
any
My-
day. I'm here
Yeah.
for
Well, first
it.
of all, yes, I love Boston Rob is like my favorite player of all time. I loved the storyline of him and Amber. And the thing about them during their season of All Stars was that you know, like they were just loyal to each other. I mean, there was no Drew and there was no Julie running around. It was Rob and Amber to the end. That's it. And there's
Yep.
these other two people in the mix. And Austin really put his game on the line, trusting D, and then D immediately running to Julie is, to me, like, if I was Austin, I'd be like, okay, well, I mean, I guess we're not really as close as I thought. D is very clearly paranoid. So that they're not Rob and Amber. Rob and Amber are Rob and Amber,
Right.
you know?
And
So
what a tech. And I think part of the reason why Rob and Amba was so loved
Amba.
by everybody is that you know, Rob had to defend Amba, make sure that she was safe, and he was. And it's not there right now. There's no reason why he has to defend D at this time. I'm wondering how much of a tactical error it was on Drew's part for not understanding that there is relationships involved in this, and did he really consider just how close those other two are compared to where he and Austin are?
I feel like that's always people's greatest mistakes on Survivor, Big Brother, and shows like this is they don't account for the other relationships
Right.
that people have made. They're short-sighted and they only look at, well, I can trust Austin. It's like, well, can you though?
My boy,
Because
yeah.
are you not? I don't know how anybody is missing this. Is it just me? Like they're up all night talking on the beach, laughing, giggling, touching each other. It's like, is anyone like, hey, this looks kind of suspicious? Like, what are we doing?
Well, they were holding hands while all four of them were on the beach. So right when they went to them at night, and they're all laying on the beach, the four of them together, there you can see that Austin and Dee are holding hands. So they
Drew and
weren't
Austin holding
even.
hands? I'm kidding.
Like-
I'm saying, were they the only ones holding hands? in that
Yeah,
group? Okay.
yeah. They're just like, and so like it was obvious, and then the other two left, and those two stayed, and I mean, you know. And Drew, you know, it's a balancing act with Drew because Austin is his number one, and you know, it's just everyone's got a number one, but they're not aligning with each other very well, like at all. And so that's where you have all these problems. And I think we're going to see a lot of the fallout from that whole Austin. Told D, who told Julie. The thing I didn't get from that whole thing is we saw Austin say, if Julie plays her idol, I'm playing mine. And then he didn't.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you all if you thought there was something that we just didn't see before trial. There has to have been. Like, there has to be some reason why he didn't play it. Maybe Austin and Julie talked off on the side or something. But I just can't imagine that. I can't imagine he would be that dumb to not play it if he thought there was any chance. I also am wondering, okay, do you have any takes? Like, why, if everyone had the idea that Julie knew what was going on, why did everyone still throw their votes her way? Why not just flip the entire thing to Emily? Do you think there just wasn't time, or what? Or they want to flush the idol because Austin's like, I gave it to her and she won't give it back. Like, what is the reason here? Can someone please tell me? Because I'm still mad.
So many thoughts.
All right, Brandon, go ahead.
Hypothetical situation, not to add a 15th question to what you just rattled off.
I have 75 of them. Go.
You're welcome. I'll go to number 76.
Yes.
Then. So my whole thought is, let's say hypothetical situation, resourcefulness is spelled correctly on both of Austin's sides. He wins immunity.
Sure.
What happens in that case? Because does the safety without power get played that Drew has? Does the other idol get played? Like, it's a completely different game. I hate to get into hypothetical right now because we have so much show to talk about, but I forget your question. I'm sure it was great.
The question
why?
was, why did they put all their votes on Julie? And
Thank
D
you.
said, hey, I have to put my vote on you, Julie. Okay, because the consensus is going this way. Same thing with Austin. D even said to Julie, Austin doesn't want to do this, but he's just trying to be on the side of the numbers. This is where we're all going. So D said very directly, I'm going to give you this information, but you got to do what I say. And then then Julie's like, I don't want to do what you say. I want to vote off Austin because I'm bitter. And like, I think it was that everybody was like, okay, let's all put our votes on Mom and Jay. Okay. And I don't think that they knew about the idol. I think of Kat, or then they did. And they said this too, that Jake and Kat, the only thing that they want to do is be on the side of the numbers.
Yeah.
and
Oh, they don't care.
Austin and Drew, you know, were they cut to them and they were the perceived numbers of that. But I just can't see, you know, for Dee's game. Well, one, this elevates Julie. This elevates Julie's game because that's probably
Once
one of the
again.
biggest moves of the season now. But it was really Dee's move, right? And because she was the one who decided to tell Julie and then decided her to say, "Hey, write Emily's name down,"
Yeah,
which
not
is
Austin.
Drew's number one, right? I actually think Emily was Drew's number one because
Yes.
Drew does know that Austin and Dee are tight. But that was the exact reason why he didn't need to vote Julie out, was because he did have an extra person outside of the core four that he could have used against them. And so it was way too early, in my opinion, for Drew to do it.
Yes.
He's getting way ahead of himself, and he's banking on the fact that Kat and Jake are incapable of making a move, right? Now they really can, unless one of the core four really decide. But I think there'll be bad blood amongst the core four. But I think that, I don't know, maybe one, Jake or Kat, might get in. They might squeeze in. But I feel like the core four, despite all the differences, Julie put her vote on Emily, making sure that core four stayed intact, right? And that was Dee's thing to say, like, hey, yes, this is animosity. It's coming from Drew, but we still have a good thing going here, and we shouldn't just destroy it completely because it's probably not going to end up good for either of us. So I actually do still see the core four going to the end, and actually even more so now because Emily's out and Drew doesn't have any escape line.
However, can Austin and Drew in their minds think that they can beat Julie or even Dee at this point because of that?
I think they'll still try to get Julie out, but I just don't know if it's going to be possible at this point because, and like Dee, I think it was in Dee's best interest to vote Julie out. But then you would have this kind of 3-3. And then maybe they do, you know, Dee would, I guess, be the next biggest threat. So maybe that's why Dee isn't getting Julie out, because she sees her as the biggest shield in the game.
That's fair. I don't know that Dee sees that Julie has a little bit of frustration towards her, you know, that she feels like Dee is always bossing her around and she doesn't really want to listen to her. Whereas I feel like Austin is just blindly loyal to her, you know, to Dee anyway. So, you know, Dee says they're both her number ones, but really Austin is the true person she can trust, you know? So I wonder if Julie could turn on Dee, because we've all been looking at everybody turning on Julie, but I wonder, you know, if it was the other way around, if Julie could write Dee's name down. I think she could. I think Julie could cut anybody. She could say what she wants and cry in front of the camera, but I think she'll cut anybody.
I was going to say, do you think that it's not necessarily Dee is more with Austin because he can trust her? Or do you think it's Dee's more with Austin because she can win against him?
She can, and he's not writing her name down. I really believe he will not. I mean, he was even basically saying it. Even if I get to the end with her and she wins, like, I'm happy with that, which is always it happens all the time, and it's like, oh my gosh, you know, you'll go either way and take the chance at the end. But yeah, I mean, I really believe that Julie will cut anybody to get to the end. I think a lot of it, she's playing up the Mama J thing, but you know, she's a lawyer and she's clearly tough. So I agree with everybody that what happened last night is going to have huge ramifications going into the end of the game, and I don't know if Julie can be stopped. And I'll be very interested to see what happens next week. Can they get her?
By them not voting Julie off, they've, like I said, they made her an even bigger threat, needing to get rid of her more now. So the whole plan, I mean, they should have taken it, right? It's just really,
she has to win immunity this next time, right? Because
imagine if she does.
Next episode is
6, right?
Drew has safety without power still, so
Austin has the idol.
Austin has the amulet.
So she doesn't win immunity. I think she's gone.
Can we talk about this too? So Austin gives Julie the idol, and then he just doesn't ask for it back, and then that automatically makes it hers. Like, well, I think when you willingly, I think when you give somebody an idol, right? So the rules of it are like nobody can steal the idol, but if you give it to them willingly, then it's technically theirs, and I think they have to consent to give it back to you. But that's like, I mean, if Austin just would have asked for it back, she would have been like, oh, okay, sure. And even if it would have rang alarm bells in her head, that's why he said, oh, I'm not going to tell her, because then she's going to be aware and she's going to be skeptical. Well, who cares if you're voting her off? She can be skeptical. You have the numbers. Yeah.
And you have 2 idols, and Drew has safety without power, and you're sitting, you know, great. That should have been an agreement. I'm going to give it to you for this tribal. And when we get back, if you could, you know, give it back, because that way, and you could have spent it like that way. What if Dee needs it, or Drew, you know, I want to be able to, you know. So I can't believe she kept it. I can't believe she just held on to it like, this is mine now. I don't know. Like,
she is love blind.
I don't know. Yeah.
I really
too
wanted
busy
to
holding
see
hands.
Julie write Austin's name down, especially when he didn't play his idol. I mean, that amulet that he has. I would have been like, I'm saving myself with the idol that you gave me, and now I'm sending you home. I really, really wanted her to write Austin's name down. I know that would have been
No.
chaos and stuff, but
Right.
I mean, but because it would have just been
would've been
the
huge.
beginning of it. I think Julie goes to the end with Kat and Jake and wins the whole thing. I think Julie can beat anybody, but I would love to see the three of them make it to the end because their stories are becoming so powerful. And the three
True.
lawyers, we've talked about this, having the three lawyers at the end would be kind of funny. It would be really, and they don't even know that they're all three lawyers till after.
That
right?
would be just the jury's face would be incredible if
That
they
would-
all
yeah.
admit it at Final Tribal. That's
And that they're called a jury. I mean,
yeah.
I'm
This
sorry.
is now. This is all I want now for the season. I didn't think I wanted it, but now with Emily out, I'm like, you know what? I've decided I want the three lawyers in the end in front of the jury. It's great.
I
mean,
know.
they couldn't ask for the producers couldn't ask for literally anything
for your
better
next
than that.
witness. I think it'd be great.
That's
But
great.
I really think that I think there's going to be a problem between Austin and Drew because of
Oh,
the
yeah.
whole thing with Julie and Dee and like telling Dee and then it got to Julie. And I think there's going to be, it's going to just, because I think those little tiny things, right? I trusted you. We were going to talk about this because Drew didn't need Austin's vote, right?
Right.
He didn't need to get Julie out technically if she wasn't gonna. And she wouldn't have played the idol if he hadn't brought Austin in on the vote because they wouldn't have had a clue. They would have been like, "Oh, we're all Emily. It's all that's what we're gonna do." And then it would have been a total blindside, and Julie would have gotten her out. She would have left with Austin's idol, but she would have been gone. It would have been fine, and Austin would have like gotten totally over that because it wasn't like they were doing it to Dee, they were doing it to Julie. We just wanted to make sure, and that would have been forgivable, and they would have moved on and worked together. But because he included Austin, now this whole thing is going to come between them, and I see there's going to be some friction there, and that'll be a really big opening for Julie and Dee to kind of take advantage of it. I think Julie's ready to cut throats. Doesn't matter.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Dee was like, "I'll never write Julie's name down." Girl, you just wrote his name down, or you wrote her name down.
I know.
Like, what are you
That's a
talking
good
about?
point.
Yeah,
You just tell me.
We
you
said
were
the
gonna
exact
ever.
same- What are you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You wrote her
unanimous
name
vote,
down.
yeah.
Like,
so
I'm going to
funny.
go with the majority.
I'll never write your name down until now. I mean, it's like, what, oh God, the whole thing. I can't get over what a mess it all ended up being. And I'm just,
Yeah.
I really can't imagine what the fallout of this, none of them can really, if you look at it, none of them can really trust each other at all. The only thing the only thing I think of it is that of the four, Dee can only really trust Austin, but Austin cannot really trust Dee. And Dee cannot, well, I guess Dee could trust Julie a bit because Julie voted for Emily, but Julie cannot trust Dee because she voted for her. It's like, it's all a mess. This whole thing was just too early. Drew just
And
played
it's
too hard,
so
too fast.
awesome.
What
Yeah.
a mess.
So
What a mess.
what
Yeah.
could happen at next tribal is
Yes.
Drew's going to feel very unsafe. So
Oh,
he's
yeah.
going to take safety
Leave.
without power.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
going to
he's
leave.
paranoid.
Then Austin could play as idol. So then
Yes.
he's safe.
He absolutely will.
So you got
He
3
should.
votes there, and then it's going to be Julie and Dee on the chopping block. So then that 3 is still intact because Drew's gone. And then they're going to vote out Jake or Kat. Easy. Then there'll be that one person that they could use
To swing.
for the final, right? For the final 4. And they
Yep.
could swing Jake or Kat over and vote Julie off. And that's honestly, if you want to like level the playing field, give everybody a fair game, that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
And I really don't want Julie to go to the end. I mean, she's just so
Same.
dominant. If she gets there, then it's just like, what's the surprise? I could see them going Dee and Austin together. And then there's like a third, whoever it is. But then they split the votes because they're so similar. I mean, I think Dee would win it because, for a number of reasons. But yeah, I don't think Dee and Austin going to the end is a good idea for both of them because they could split the votes because they were, a pair,
100%.
a very similar game, lovebirds type of thing. And I don't
They
know. Then they
foreshadowed
could be the
that with
person
the
on the
whole
outside.
Rob thing anyway. We
Right.
saw literally at the end,
Amber.
it was at the finale when Amber won and
Right.
and Rob proposed that the two of them were sitting together. So they've already kind of foreshadowed that a little bit, that it could be the two of them at the end.
But with the Rob and the Amber vote, it was Amber won by 1 vote, and it was a split vote between the both of them. Okay, and that was when they only had 2 people in the final tribal. Now they always have 3.
Yeah.
So
Do they
again,
know?
you're looking
We
at
don't know. It's never a
that's
guarantee.
a good point. Yeah, never guarantee.
But that was during the times of bitter juries too.
Oh my gosh.
I don't think that that's a thing really anymore, right? So in that case, I think D has this huge. D sounds more convincing to me of wanting to win than Austin ever has this whole entire season, right? Are we there?
Well, it was, I mean, the biggest blunder of the season was Austin telling, I mean, maybe not the biggest, but a huge blunder was Austin telling D the secret. And then it was D's move to get, so that's D's move, you know, and Austin is getting used and abused.
You're right. No, you're right. I know. I'm like, part of me thinks if they get to the end that Austin could sneak out the win, but that right there I would go the other way. I'm like, you know what, Alex? If we were both on the jury, I'd be like, you're right. We got to go with D for sure.
But it's going to be chalked up as Julie's move because she was the one who played the idol and took the risk and had the votes on her and stuff like that. But
I think D will come in and say she orchestrated a lot of it. Like if Julie's not in the end with her, she has no competition to say, what did you do and 100%. What did Julie do? She can say, Julie and I worked together on this, but I was the one with the plan. I was the one pushing things. And, you know, like I was the puppet master in a lot of this that was going on. And even though Julie didn't want to, like she came to me and she asked me, she's like, I want to vote Austin then. And then Dee's like, no, you can't do that. But then she still had her, like she wanted Emily gone. She told Julie to do it and Julie did it. So that definitely goes to D. I mean, if you're looking at it like that, if she's explaining it, she'd be like, yeah, she said Austin. And I said, no, you have to vote Emily. You have to do that. This is the way to do it. And then Julie was like, okay, I'll write down. I'm like, girl, don't. No, Write Austin's name. I wanted Austin to go. And not that I just knew like that we got to break the core four and Emily's not core four. And even though you need to get Emily out of there, she's not going to win the physical competitions. She's just not.
Clearly.
And yeah, like they're most of them were. And Julie has a much better shot at winning some competitions. So there would be other times. Plus, she doesn't have all the stuff. If you could have sent Austin home with an amulet, I mean, you're now knocking out somebody that's a power player and has an advantage.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That would have been a huge move.
To do that. I think you have to go Drew next time if he doesn't leave, right? I think you have to make him so comfortable.
No way. I think he's leaving.
Well, you know, Austin's definitely playing his amulet because it's the last time to play it anyway. So he will play it no matter what. But he also could win, you know.
If he wins immunity, he could give the amulet to somebody else, you know.
Exactly.
And who could it be? Katura? No, just kidding.
Well, I actually do see. So we talk about the core four, the strength of the alliance, right? And how that was so important. Well, Julie, D, and Austin are pretty close now, right? They're very, very, very tight. Drew's on the outside. And so there could be a very, you know, clear path for those three to go to the end. And then it's kind of this battle between D and then, you know, and then Julie's going to win. Right. But I just don't understand in D's mind why she's keeping Julie. But I think it's because, like she says, like she's the actual puppet master. D's the likable person. But I don't think that usually works out.
I don't think D can beat Julie. I think in the end, it'll be hard for her to show that she made the, you know, certain moves because Julie was so front and center, you know, competing in those challenges and the vote for Emily and everything. It's going to be hard for D to justify it because because Julie was right front and center for those. Yeah.
Can you give a safety with that power? So say he wins immunity, Drew. Can you give a safety with that power to somebody else? Is that
I think you can give any of your advantages to anybody. You want. Yeah.
Interesting.
Who would you give that to if say he wins and or would you just let it fall to the wayside if you're Drew? You win immunity.
If he wins immunity next week, he's saving the safety without power for the final 5.
Oh yeah, he'll save it for
he can use it for 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, he
the
can.
only thing that expires the next time is Austin's amulet.
Okay.
Which is why wouldn't you have given that one to Julie?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been the smarter one.
Because our boys in love.
I know. He's not thinking. He's not thinking clearly. I have some questions. So one of the things I heard last night when I was watching the after party with Jam, Carolyn, and Carson was something because I want to talk a little bit about Jeff and how we liked him this episode. But Carson was saying Jeff knows everyone's story. He knows Kat's story.
Yeah.
He knows what everyone's been like, what they're coming in with, where we're just learning it as they unload it to us they drip it out, like this one's story, then that one's story. Yeah. So the way he talks to the players and the way he relates to them before we know what's going on with them I think that definitely comes through. It's why I think why we saw him so like connected to Kat and even to Jake. I think he gives Jake some props every once in a while.
Yeah.
And maybe maybe he can relate to some of the different things that people go through. So I thought it was a really interesting point that they made. Like he already knows all of the stuff when they're coming on day one, like what their backstories are. So do you think that plays a big part in how he connects with people? Are you seeing it? I thought I saw it a little bit, but is anyone else seeing how Jeff will, like, once you hear their story, you're like, oh, okay.
Apparently, Brandon never went through anything in his life because he treated Brandon like crap.
Yeah. He's like,
Well,
you've
he
never
just
had
came
a
in
hard
so
day.
unprepared.
Right?
Yeah.
Poor guy.
Well, when you look at old seasons, and I've said this before, you look at old seasons, Jeff was mean. I mean, he was brutal. I mean, he really dug into people, and I loved it. I mean, it was great.
Same.
And now he's a little bit older, and he's a little bit more understanding and sensitive, and really tries to get people to have that kind of blossoming or self-discovery or like coming out of their shell and maturing as a person. And he tries to facilitate that kind of growth moment for them, I think, a lot of times, and does a lot of the kind of the babying. Maybe that's the millennial generation, right? And we need that type of thing.
Yeah.
But I mean, that is why we also enjoy the shows, because we do want that for people. Like, we're not, we like when Jeff is kind of brutal, but we also want people to succeed. And we know too that these are real people behind, the screen. And it was actually interesting on that reunion show with Rob and Amber. It was really contentious because they were having this discussion because it was probably the most popular season of Survivor ever, the Rob and Amber one, because they became celebrities and stuff. But they were talking about this, like, when you sign up for Survivor, you're accepting the lineage of Survivor, that it was the first reality TV show that everybody talked about. And by doing it, you accept that you are a target. You accept that you're going to be the object of criticism. And that should be expected and embraced. And you're no longer really a person. You're a character on TV. But I think that has maybe changed a little bit now because the life after Survivor is lived through social media, right? And all these people are public figures. And that wasn't the case, when Rob and Amber were on the show. So maybe that's why there's kind of this change. And you also see these people live on through other CBS shows too, right? Because there's The Challenge and there's, all these other things. So maybe that's,
they want to see them coming back, the Big Brother, Survivor, The Amazing Race, now The Challenge, because of Paramount and things like that. So they want them to want to come back. And I think that they also maybe worry a bit about, being offensive and people, wanting to cancel the show and say, look, this show has been on since 2001. Like, I think its time has come. Like, all Jeff ever is mean to people with, anxiety or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's so I think that, I'm sure Jeff in his older age gets nicer. I think a lot of people do. But I also think, CBS and producers are like, all right, like, we don't need to, like, piss off the internet as well, and it seems like people have a harder time sometimes dealing with the aftermath of reality shows because, like you said, because it's lived on social media. And when I was working in reality TV, it was very interesting to interview people when they got off shows and just hear about what life was like coming back. And even before social media, it's very hard for people when they come off of the show, when they watch themselves back, when they see the edit, when they think something good is going to happen. Like, I remember interviewing a lot of the contestants on American Idol, and they would say, the national tour would end and it's like you're playing sold out stadiums and they just drop you back in your hometown. They're like, okay, bye, and it's like, okay, now what do I do? And I struggle. So I see why they've gotten a little bit nicer, but I do miss the ruthlessness. And I also feel, is it just me? I feel like Jeff asks questions in Tribal that like lead you to be like, am I in trouble? Like, are they talking about me at camp? I feel like the questions are a little bit leading sometimes, where if you're like paying attention, and I know there's more than what we don't see and it goes on longer, but I feel like he's often asking questions that if I thought I was safe, I'd be like, if I was like Bruce, I might be like, hold on a minute. Like, am I in trouble here? What do you guys think? Do you think he leads people?
He stirs the pot. He does it a little bit. I don't know if he does it that often. It's just a little bit. But yeah, you have to be really, really careful because you can, obviously there's the puppet master, which is Jeff, who knows everything that's going on all the time. And like he said, cameras are with you 24/7. There's always people around you. Because I think somebody asked him recently, or sometime I just saw a clip of this. I think it was in the Tribe Has Spoken group, Facebook group, where they were like, has anyone had sex while being on Survivor, right?
Well, they did on
And
Big
he
Brother.
he was like, the cameras are on you 24/7, so they're, it would probably happen. I don't
Yeah.
believe it might have happened. I don't know how sneaky people are, and I don't even want to think about that. But so people are like, they're on him. So he sees this stuff. He knows. So you have to I think it's a really tight rope to walk for him on what he can say and how he can say it.
True.
Whether they pick up on that is another question, because I don't think they pick up on it as much as we do when we're like, Jeff, did you just ask that? I don't think like they, they just they don't hear it, or they don't see that like maybe it is directed at them.
Well, and he's also asking about 50 more questions. I've heard this that goes on for like
it
hours.
goes on, yeah.
So it'd be hard for them to be like, okay, is this the question that they're going to use or show?
Or is this a decoy question?
Correct. So I wonder how much of it is that. Going back to, does Jeff kind of play on the stories, or does he react according to who's been through what? Maybe a little bit. I think it is the age thing again. But again, I think we saw a little bit of mean Jeff whenever I think Drew started throwing the beanbag and missed like the first 6 times. And he said, another bad throw from Drew. It came. We got it a little bit.
Yeah.
We got a little bit of mean.
He does have some. Yeah. And it's cool to watch Survivor, the old seasons, because the game culture, it's been on 25 years or however long, and it does evolve. And the game back then, it was very, you could call it boomerish, like it was all about working hard and who's working the hardest at camp. Now people don't give a crap about it. But it used to be like the biggest thing is like who helped out at camp, who was a hard worker, who's blue collar, it's just like nobody cares about that. They don't even talk about it anymore, really. And I think that's the change too of like, the interpersonal or like the kind of the comments about people have changed too, because people used to be just more confrontational, more aggressive, in some ways.
Well, Kat did make a comment this episode. She was like, see that? See how quiet it is? Bruce is gone. See that? It's all quiet here now, right? So, she was like, so camp life, does make it, I think you still don't want that person that just lays around all day and doesn't contribute, because life is tough there, but they're not showing us that much either. And we're not seeing that in really decision making. So I'm hoping that it's just that everybody's pitching in and there isn't much to talk about that, because, it's tough life out there.
They've shortened it too. It's 26 days now instead of 39 days. That's a lot less days, right? And so you could just go out there and probably just, okay, I'm not going to eat for 26 days, right? 30 over a month. That's definitely harder. So, I think shortening the game too has made, it less strenuous on people. Camp life may not be as important because you're really not there for that much long, or you're really not there for very long now. So.
Yeah, and everything is closer together. Like all the reward challenges, the tribal, everything happens faster. So the rewards, like if you're eating and you're winning, you're on a winning team consistently, or you're close with people that are bringing you along. Like you're eating a good meal, every other day or something like that,
Which is why it was so funny that we talk about how short they've been out there compared to how they have been. And when they went to it felt very Anakin Skywalker and Princess Amidala, or whatever her name was on Star Wars, where she was like, oh, remember when we saw the Milky Way the first time? Yeah, 3 weeks ago?
Like we've been out here forever.
Yeah, I remember 21 days ago. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Yeah, but it does feel a lot longer. I get that, because you're 24/7 with people. Where if you were just starting a relationship with somebody, you're not going to be like 24. Well, you probably shouldn't be 24/7 with them.
Let it be.
You might be, but that's your own business. But still, you're going to get those breaks, and it's not that high pressure kind of a thing. So it is a little more intense, and things move more quickly as far as relationship buildings go. But also, she is still hesitant. He has to see that, because she is like, but I was like, I'm not going to have a showmance. It's not going to happen. Didn't want any part of it. So I think I don't think Austin's smart enough. I think he's going to he's making heart mistakes. He's going by the heart a bunch of times now. And I think that's going to bite him in the ass in the end. But D, however, is like, I'm gonna do this, but I'm also when I gotta cut you, I'm gonna cut you. So I think they're on different pages when it comes to that, and that'll bite Austin in the butt later, because he's gonna realize that
just keep in mind, we're almost at fire making. Julie did make the fire. And I think they made a huge point of that on the first episode. So keep in mind when they pick whoever they're going to pick for that fire making challenge is Julie. Julie has that one, I think, in the bag.
So you think Emily was a smart move for Julie?
Well, for Julie, yeah.
For
yeah,
Julie
because it's
specifically.
eliminating. I don't know how much she knew about Drew and Emily's relationship. I mean, you can kind of look at it and say, okay, there's probably something that's going to go on here, right? Because they just look very similar, kind of opposites. But, you're like, okay, these people, I could see them getting along. So, I think it was a smart move for Julie, dumb move for everybody else in the game.
Yes, very dumb.
That they let it happen, but.
Yeah, because Julie still has D. That trust is more there than anything else. And then Drew had immunity, so obviously the person has the best chance to win the game is Emily. So yeah.
What do we think about? I was watching this, and I was. There was really great stories because we heard Jake when the three lawyers were on the beach together. We heard Jake say, "You remind me so much of the people that I work with."
That was funny. She's like, I do.
Really funny. Yeah, she's like, what, me? Which I thought was really interesting, and I loved. We didn't really talk about Kat's story too much, but I loved hearing about Kat's story and hearing the things that she went through.
No, I'm not laughing at that. I'm laughing at Apple Cart. Apple Cart.
Apple Cart. He's like, do people say that? Yeah, I think so. I think that's an expression. It's like I've never heard.
Well, you call it apricot, but
apricot. But being from New England, and I'm like, I've never heard this in my life.
All right, go ahead, Brie.
Go ahead, Brie.
I just thought it was really funny. But like you see Jake, and he's like, I really like Jake. I like, we heard his story of we heard about his background. We talk about Jeff knowing their backstories, and I think even like other people would say, wasn't really rooting for Kat until I heard her backstory and saw the things that she came through.
Agreed.
Missing middle school, which we all decided we probably would prefer to miss middle school, but maybe not in that circumstance. But it's like Jake is like, he's growing on you. He's like this free, like you could have Jake, if you said, Jake, stick with me, I'll take you to the end. Jake would be like, all right, let's do it. Right. And he's a good dude. He's just a good guy. And his feelings get hurt. He wears his heart on his sleeve. Like, you talk bad about me. And even though we got in Drew's face, like there's, you know what I mean? There's a lot. I was like, I think Jake can make it to the end. I don't know. He's not going to win, but it totally will make it to the end. Do you guys think that Jake is like a shoo-in now for the end game?
I've been a Jake fan for a while. I don't know. Again, maybe it's that New England, I just can't help it. Like a great Boston accent. And that, I don't know. There's just something about him that's very likable. And, I know he's been on the bottom for so long, but he just keeps fighting. And what did he say? Like, I came out here to play Survivor. And I feel like he's really trying. It's just been like Lemony Snicket's a series of unfortunate events. Like, it's just one like rain cloud after another for him, but he just keeps pushing through, and he's doing it with a smile on his face and joking and fighting and scrapping and playing hard, and I love it. Whereas sometimes I feel like Katura is like sneaking around. Like Jake is just, I don't know, like he's
Jake doesn't have a damn enemy on that jury. I mean, if they vote with their heart, then
I want him to go to the end.
Votes, man. I'm not throwing him out anymore.
Well, two things. No, it was really funny that Kat went to Emily and was like, hey girl, I got this plan. And then Emily did a really great job acting. She's like, oh my gosh. And like Drew like inseminated that into Kat. And then for some reason she thought it was her idea, which was kind of funny. I'll say this too. Do you guys remember Brett? He was on the season with Zeke. He was Sunday,
right?
What was that?
Sunday, wasn't that Gen X and Millennials?
Yeah, it was Gen X Millennials. He was a gay I think firefighter or cop from Boston. We always say this in my house whenever you hear somebody on Survivor with a East Coast accent. On that season, he's sitting on the beach and he's waiting for Ozzy to go get some food or something, or somebody get some food, and he goes, "Oh man, I could really go for some shock right now. I could really chow on some shock." And we always laugh about that. We say, people, who's gonna chow on shock this episode? I could just use a good shock to chow on. Yeah.
If we got Jake and Dee and Austin, it would almost be like the trifecta, right? Because we got Boston, and then we've got the Rob and Amber, right? So we would have like that would be like the whole thing. And then we know Jake wouldn't get any of the votes for that either, but it would be a lot of fun to like see that happen. I want to kind of move in like, who are we seeing as final? Like who are our dream team? Who are the people? What does this core four of us think of the core four, and how, like, who's going to make it to the end?
All my favorites keep getting eliminated. I mean, I'm rooting for Jake. I'm rooting for Austin, and like I almost am like, whatever is the third. I think the 3 lawyers thing would be fun. I think it'd be great TV. But if I'm like, who would I like to see get to the end? Like, I would like to see Austin get there, and I'm definitely rooting for Jake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you,
I think the go ahead, Brendan. Okay, I'll go.
No, I'm still doing my list. Go ahead.
Sure. I do think the core four is going to stick it out to the end, hell or high water. I think they tried to mix it up, but I just think it's too, Dee's relationship with Julie is too strong, her relationship. And then, all of them have these really, really close one-on-one relationships. And now with Emily out, there's just no way to mix that up. So I think it's going to play out kind of like we said, these idols are going to play, Drew's going to go, and then they aren't going to have any other choice except directed at those people. So and then I think it could be Julie. Well, we'll see how smart Dee is. It's all up to Dee, I think. Is she going to vote Julie out? Is she really going to stay committed? I'm never going to write her name down. Or will she perceive her, especially as the game moves on, as a real threat and eventually vote her out? Maybe when it gets to the final 4. But I guess it goes to fire or however they decide it, right? But yeah, I think it's Dee's decision to make at this point. And it was her decision on this vote too. So Dee's really in control of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. I think that Dee is in control of the game. I think them showing Julie making fire a long time ago was a foreshadow to her winning the fire challenge. And I think because of that, it's Julie, Dee, and Austin. Dee has her 2 people, her 1 and 2 on the side. She's holding hands with both of them. And I think Dee beats Julie surprisingly by a vote.
Wow. Bree, what about you?
So I think that next week, and this will set up to the end game, I think that if Austin wins the immunity, if he gets immunity, he gives his idol to Dee. Drew leaves. So we have Dee safe, we have Austin safe, and Julie is left out in the cold. And all they need is one, like really, they would just get Julie. I think that's when you get Julie out. You get her out at 6. That would be the smart thing, because you still have Drew, Austin, and Dee. And then all that's left is Kat and Jake. So really, you can like go final 3 with these 3 people. And like, that like probably Kat or Austin or Kat or Jake can't make fire. But you're okay because you like your core 3 is still going to make it there. So if that's the way they can play it, if they can get Julie out next week, which I think would be the smart move for both Austin and Dee and Drew, because like Drew said, Austin and I are equal, but Mama J, they're always saying that Julie has to go. So that's why we get Julie out. And then you can maybe pull Kat and Jake in. I don't think there's any harm in taking Jake or Kat to the final. I don't think that it's going to be a problem. Like, you're not going to get enough votes to win, neither of them. So really it's like, do you want to take Drew with you or not? Because I think he's the one out at that point, right? He's like the odd man out. Yeah. So I think that the smart thing would be I don't think Drew needs to worry about after next week. He doesn't have to worry about his like being there without any protection. I think that he would get through if they were all going in there together. So get Julie out next week, and then I think everybody
in the core 4 thinks they can beat Drew too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He hasn't done anything. So I mean, he's done a lot. But, he's done a lot. But
he hasn't done anything.
He hasn't done a single thing. He didn't do this move. I mean, he got completely blindsided on this. And I mean, he did make one move, and it was to vote out. He drove the vote. It was between Dee making the decision and Drew making the decision. They went with Drew. I forgot what the vote was, but Drew did decide that vote. So he did one thing. But.
Yeah, you just talk to Jake and bring him in. You talk to Jake and bring him in. And Dee and Austin bring Jake along, because he'll do whatever you ask him to do. If you tell him you're taking him to final 3, he's right there with you. He'll do whatever.
The amount that Drew's game tanked this episode, not only
Yes.
because his plan didn't work and because
Yeah.
Emily was the one who went home.
Yes.
Emily stays somehow. Julie picks somebody else. Drew still has Emily, and that's his move of the season to keep her around as a 3. And Drew is so done in this game, I think.
Yeah, he's in big trouble. I think he's going to kick himself big time.
We saw in the preview for the next episode, he chucks the lid to the pot. And it's like, "Oh."
That was great.
Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting. I think that next episode we'll see giant moves. We'll see everything played. I don't think anything's going to come into the final 5. It just depends on who wins immunity. But I really see maybe Austin. He'll get the assignment. He didn't get the assignment this last week.
Oh,
He was like,
Jeff was trying to bait him so badly
so
on
bad.
both sides. On both sides.
Yeah, he kept saying it. And he
He's
was
like,
just like,
make sure you have it right on both sides. And he's just, I don't know. I'm like, oh my gosh, what are you doing?
smart
Ozzy.
Ozzy.
Smart Ozzy.
That's funny.
Yep.
Very
I'll give it to
amazing.
Drew, though. It was cool when Drew punched it and it like that was cool. So
Yeah,
that was a
That
cool
was
thing
his
to do.
big moment of the season.
Yeah,
Very,
but then he kept
very
punching
anime.
things.
Did
He
he
kept,
have punching things?
punching things. I was like, come on, Drew. Like,
Now
Now
slow
he's punching
down.
everything.
Yeah, he was just a little excited. Yeah, I think it'll be an interesting thing. I want to see next week. It's where it's really we're gonna see, will the core 4 stick together? It'll be
Yeah.
put to the test. I really think if they're smart, they get Julie out because she will win everything.
Oh,
It's funny that I picked her as my GOAT at the
did?
beginning of the season.
You
I
did?
did.
Episode 1, I remember.
Episode 1, I was like, nope, they're gonna bring her to the end,
Yeah.
and that'll be it. Like, she's not gonna win. She's gonna be the GOAT. They'll just bring her along. And then she really surprised everybody, and she's been a powerhouse, like consistently every week. She's doing moves. They're
Mhm.
not, sometimes they're big moves, sometimes they're not, but like she's just really like this. She is one of those like, okay, I want to say this and I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack back. I know we have to wrap, but she reminds me of old school Survivor. I really think she does because she comes at it where she's really strategic. She's building those alliances. She knows she's paying attention. She sees things. She's calling stuff out and like playing her game. And she's also like doing pretty well in a lot of these challenges. When it comes to endurance, you know, she can hold her own. And I think we should see an endurance one coming up in our next challenge. I believe.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure, but I believe that because then the last ones are kind of, we have that I never know the name of it, but that spinning, add the ball and catch them and add the ball and then put 5 balls in there all at the same time and everything's going crazy kind of thing. So I think we're going to see that next time. And I think she actually, if she wins it next week, if she gets the immunity necklace, that she's in. Like, she's going to go right in. I really think so. But what do you guys think?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, the
You
thing
feel
about
old
Julie that
school?
I do, yeah, and she's scrappy and I love it. Like, she fights her butt off and she's so much stronger in challenges than I thought she was going to be. I think I really underestimated her in the beginning, and so I see exactly what you're saying. You know, she gives those vibes of an old school Survivor player. And I'd love to, especially if towards the end she really embraces that, you know, and just schemes and pushes her way, you know, to the very end instead of just conceding back to what Dee wants or what Austin wants, you know. But I definitely see your point.
Yeah. And didn't Dee say to Julie, Austin's my number 1?
Yep.
She did.
Why did she do that?
Why?
Why does anybody do anything?
Love is a poison. Love is a poison.
Literally, I feel like all I did watching this episode was just yell, why? Like 1,000 times. Why are you saying this? Stop saying this. Like, so many people were just saying things. I was like, this is going to have ramifications. It was from Emily, you know, saying the stuff about Bruce, to Dee saying Austin's my number 1, to Austin telling Dee, I'm like, it just, oh my God, I couldn't stop screaming enough. Please keep secrets.
And Julie, I don't think I said anything erroneously this whole season.
That's a really good point. She's been very careful with her words, whereas almost everyone
Everybody
has
else.
made a mistake or spilled too much or shared too much. That is a very good point that she's playing with her cards very close to her chest, but you don't feel like it because she's embraced the mother thing. So you feel like you're close with her. That's a good point.
Absolutely.
I was really scared when Julie like found out, and then she was in the camp with Jake and Kat. She got this look on her face, and she was like,
I'm
had the
going
pick
rogue.
in her mouth. She's like, "What do you guys think about?" And I was like, "Oh my gosh, like who is this lady? Like this is like she scared me." I was like, "Whoa!" And she got this big, her eyes got all wide.
Yeah,
she like she went
Ginger eyes.
rogue. She went crazy.
Yeah, but she said, "I'm going rogue." I was like, "Oh my God, I'm scared." Mom's
What
mad.
are you gonna do?
Mom's mad. You know when mom gets mad? For the
That's right.
holidays? You know when mom gets mad on Christmas and you're like, "Oh." Like nobody say anything else.
She's
Just let-
calling you all 3 names, first, middle, and last. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You're scared. She's slamming stuff in the sink when she's doing the dishes. You're like, "Uh-oh."
She's like
Well,
trying to
she's a
yell at
dimension.
Austin, and
Oh
She's
my
got
God,
a
that's so
dimensions to who she is, right? She knows, like she is like she's really playing the smartest game. She's like, she set herself as the mom role, and she's friends with everybody, and everyone loves her, and she's doing all these things, but she's also dastardly and devious, and really paying attention and knowing how to do things, and like getting herself in the right positions. That's why I really wish she had taken out. I think she should have taken Austin out, not Emily. But
Yes,
that's my
she
own.
should have.
She should have, but Emily was good for her game. I see both of them were being good for her game, but it's just that Austin has that idol, and she knows that he has the amulet. So why would you not take a swing at that?
And maybe that's why he didn't, because he did say in that episode to Drew that I'll play this, and maybe Deet said, "Hey, he's gonna play this. I'll make sure he doesn't play this."
Right.
I don't know. I think it still was the better decision between the two of them.
Yeah.
I really do. Yeah.
Yeah. I hope we'll see it. Yeah, I think Julie's is quite. I'm so impressed. Didn't see it coming at first. Did not see it coming. Obviously, didn't call that out in the first episode that we did this year. And every week she's like leveled up. I told her that she posted something on Instagram, and I had written something to her. I'm like really leveling up, like super, like now
Top
like
tier.
the
She's top tier.
top tier at this
Big
point.
time.
And she was like appreciative of that, but it's cool, right, to see someone come into their own. And I'm gonna say it's nice to see a little, she's a little older than the rest of the ladies there, and so I really like seeing her just like really crush this. So
100%.
she's got to be a winner's pick at this point.
Oh yeah.
Let's hope she gets there. All right, next week we got all kinds of craziness going on. It is our last I think it's our last regular episode.
Yeah.
Before the finale episode, where we go from 5 to the winner. So I think it's going to be a big move. We're going to have a lot of takes, a lot of opinions on everything. I know that. I love that you guys are here. Thank you, Brandon, for being. You please come back again next week. I'm going to make you put us on your schedule so you can make sure you are here.
I kind of wish, because we talked about the Brandon's history of Survivor, and me and Alex wanted to be on that show. I wouldn't mind if you call me Trent, to tell you the truth. So
yes, I've never changed the intro. Apologies, but but you've got the beard and the mustache, so I mean we're pretty close.
Well, I did it.
Pretty close. We did it right. We love it. Thanks everybody for being here and joining us this week. We love Survivor. We love having you here. We want to hear your comments, and even if they're bad comments, we don't care. We want Alex to save the show for us. But please come back and see us again next week. We'll see you guys. Have a great one, and subscribe. Bye.